Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Jabroni Drive. My name is Tom Lavelle, and as always, I'm accompanied by Mr. Timothy Schmidt. On this week's episode, we'll be covering Money in the Bank, Seth versus Finn, Cody versus Dom, Roman, Solo versus the Usos, Men's Money in the Bank, Women's Money in the Bank, and Forbidden Door. Now that I've embarrassed myself in front of all my vacation neighbors, Timmy, you got anything you want to say to all the Schmidt Lavelleites out there across the world? Oh my God.
Oh.
Yep. Well, we have dozens of people here watching us.
Oh.
As you know from the...
Well, I don't think they're watching.
Yeah.
They're more listening.
Like,
and,
what are these two idiots doing?
I mean, it's morning here, and we just kind of woke up the whole neighborhood. We are down in Sea Isle City, New Jersey on vacation.
Sold out.
And it is a jam-packed show we got going on.
A lot to cover this week.
And it's we're right on the beach. It's not far from where the what WrestleMania, what was it, down in Atlantic City?
Atlantic City, WrestleMania 2 and 3.
2 and 3 took place. Little reference there. You didn't think I was going there with that?
No, I love that.
Yeah.
And so we had a wait, no. It wasn't 2 and 3. Maybe it was 2 and 4. I think it was 2 and 4.
You are the historian. You would know.
But so, because I want to say 3 was against Andre the Giant, and I want to say that was at the Silver Dome.
Well, there's plenty of people out in their decks enjoying a nice morning, a nice coffee, if you will.
Yeah, a nice cup of coffee, trying to relax, unwind.
Which is why I was laughing so hard, because Tommy, he took it to an extra octave when he's doing this, and we're on an enclosed street. And I'll tell you what, people are looking at him a little crooked.
Well, my apologies, but
they probably followers of the show anyway.
Yeah, they know what we're doing. That's why they're out here to listen. So a lot to cover. First thing I want to do is talk about the history of this week. Tim, this is a huge week in the history of professional wrestling. Yesterday would have been the 21st anniversary of John Cena debuting in WWE, WWF at the time.
Is this the Ruthless Aggression?
This is Ruthless Aggression era. This is when he smacks Mr. Kurt Angle right in the face. Ruthless Aggression. And what a career he's had. You could argue he's on the Mount Rushmore of WWE. Certainly one of the best professional wrestlers in the history of WWF and of all time. We had another big moment 12 years ago, Mr. CM Punk and the pipe bomb. That was 12 years ago yesterday. Now, this is probably in a time that you weren't really tuning in as much.
Nope.
I want to say something that might be a little bit controversial. You know my feelings on Mr. CM Punk, and maybe even so much what he said I don't necessarily disagree with. The one thing I will always disagree with CM Punk is his claim that he is, in fact, the best in the world. I don't ever think he's ever been the best in the world. I don't ever think he will be the best in the world. He's a draw because, he knows how to play that right, for lack of a better, he's a good a-hole, I will say. I'm trying not to curse as much on this show, but I don't think in ring he was ever that great. I think he certainly doesn't have the look of someone that could win in a fight. He could never beat like a Brock Lesnar in a real fight. You can never convince me.
Didn't he go to MMA for a little while?
Yeah, he went to UFC.
Beat a bunch.
Yeah, he didn't even land a punch. And I want to say his matches probably combined were 2 minutes long. And, and I'm not saying that, hey, respect that he got in the ring and was doing his thing. I'm sure he knew he was going to get destroyed. But I think in his mind, leading up to the MMA, he actually thought he was a real, tough guy that could beat up all these things. And, wrestling, as much as we love it, we also know that it's scripted and predetermined. And I'm not saying he's not tough. He can take the blows. He can take the punches. He's but he's not a fighter.
Right. Yeah. I mean, look, I've seen him in action only a handful of times. what I've seen from him in terms of like the recent stuff hasn't really been that impressive for me. He doesn't, like you said, he doesn't have the look. I mean, he's like a little flabby. I know he's somewhat athletic. But he does well on the microphone, right? He can cut a promo.
He does do very well on the microphone. One of the best, I will say that. He's very good, like not all time, but just, he would like to say he's the best all time, but he's great on the mic, and he uses, I think, his look to do that, like, and his attitude. I tune in. Oh man, the UPS driver's about to take out that Decker. Wow, that was hard. Oh boy. Uh-oh. Oh. Okay. We almost had a match between a UPS truck and an Infinity. But he managed to work. Kudos to him.
All right.
Reminds me of one Jeffrey Fergus, with that move right there.
Jeff's got way more experience than this guy, you can tell.
But so yeah, he never really did it for me, obviously. And I will say that I think the pipe bomb is overrated. People talk about it like it's this amazing moment in WWE history.
This is the one where he sits at the top of or does he sit in a ring?
He sits at the top of the
Titan, right below the Titantron, right?
Right below, crisscross applesauce.
I did see parts of this. Wasn't really. I mean, the promo is fantastic. Is really good, but you never. It goes on the verge of like, hey, is this real? Is it not real? And then,
right.
And he's dancing on that line, which always makes great for storytelling. You never know if it's real or if it's not real.
Right.
Ends up being real. Obviously, he ends up getting fired or
no, he
quits.
In the storyline, he had a contract coming up. He had a match against John Cena for the belt, and he said he was going to win and leave, and they kind of play into that, but he didn't go anywhere. He was there. But like, I guess this is what kind of leads into like an AEW WWE, like he seems to always be having these issues on camera to where I think people believe that he's more of a problem off camera than he actually is, and he does a great job of that, and when he came back, it had been years. I listened to his podcast after he left WWE because as a fan of professional wrestling, we all have our issues with WWE. Correct. You know what I mean? And how they do storylines and stuff like that. So he played into that. Like, nobody hates professional wrestling more than professional wrestling fans. As funny as that may sound, it's the truth. And like, we're always dissecting it, Tim. And like, for example, the draft, stuff like that. We're like, what are they doing? Where's this going? This is pointless, stupid, blah, blah, blah. And there was a lot more of that years ago in WWE, believe it or not. And so I guess him being the person that could bring that to light was, he took advantage of that, and kudos to him.
Kudos.
Yeah. But I don't like it.
Well, the problem is I look again, I haven't really seen most of his work. It, like you said, you already alluded to. Yeah, there was an error there when I stopped watching wrestling, and that was probably the CM Punk era. For better or for worse. I always like the older stuff, and it's more. It seems like it's coming back around, and we're getting a lot of better storytelling and all that other stuff right now. And CM Punk is not part of WWE, which I think is probably a good thing.
And I like to rant for just a little bit more. I feel like people will give these. So a big match this past weekend was Will Ospreay versus Kenny Omega. Huge match, Forbidden Door, and AEW is taking off. And all of this is great for professional wrestling. AEW's success is great for AEW. It's also great for WWE because it's making them elevate their game. When there's competition, makes things better. Back like with WCW and WWF back in the day. So they had this incredible match the other day. I feel like it's easier for, as much as there's advantages to be in WWE and be a professional wrestler with this great platform, you can reach millions of people. It's the biggest platform out there. There's also an advantage to being in the indie. There's more things you can do. You can get away with. You're not the corporate, like big company that if you say something, it's like going to get you fired or canceled or do something like that. And you can be a little more edgy with your content, with the match and stuff like the hitting and stuff like that. More adult, I guess, if you will, Tim. And I don't think that the marks for AEW or indie wrestling ever take knowledge of that. Like, say that. There's an art to being able to work in WWE and their platform. You know what I'm saying?
Sure, yeah.
And so it's not really a fair setup in certain ways for the WWE wrestlers. Seth Rollins has to perform under a certain guidelines, put those guidelines on a CM Punk now, or, Will Ospreay, Kenny Omega now. It's tougher to do.
Yeah. No, yeah, there's certainly challenges out there, and there's reasons why they're in their promo, and Seth Rollins is where he's at, right? I mean, they find success in different ways and different avenues. And we're seeing guys that have left the WWE and have gone down to the AEW. I call it going down because it feels more of like a minor league type promotion. But are they having the success that they thought they would when they left? They talk about like having constraints,
right,
that you say, when they're operating in the WWE, and now they leave. The guy that comes to mind is who was in the Shield. What's his name?
Oh, Jon Moxley.
John Moxley used to say that,
aka Dean Ambrose.
Yeah, he felt pretty much limited in the WWE. Maybe that was because of writing or booking or whatever that may be. But
plus he has a bit more of a hardcore character where he's having these like hardcore matches over there, which, as ECW fans growing up, we definitely appreciate that, but it's not like Jon Moxley never did it for me. You know what I mean? I never really bought into his, lunatic fringe kind of thing. Oh, I'm crazy, like, all right, like Ken Shamrock used to do that back in the day too, and it wasn't like he didn't have the substance behind it to make you either like the character as much or be really invested. Can you get me invested in the match?
You know who was crazy? The Berserker.
The Berserker.
He used to, oof. Well, I mean, like the true crazy characters are. I mean, like take a look at Mick Foley. That dude's out of his mind.
Right, a Sabu,
completely nuts, like Sabu nuts. Like these guys, they didn't call themselves crazy; they just were.
Exactly. Show us. Don't talk about it. Be about it.
Talk is cheap.
So, Tim, one more thing to cover and if you haven't checked out the Kenny Omega Will Ospreay match, do go check it out. Very good match. I thoroughly enjoyed it. A lot of incredible spots in there. The fans were great. Go watch that. If you're trying to take your fandom to the next level and you don't tune into that stuff, go check it out. So another day, this is a big day in the history of professional wrestling, Tim. Almost a where were you moment. You ready for this? June 28th, 1998, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. 1 Hell in the Cell match between Mankind and The Undertaker. Fitting that we're recording today on the anniversary. Tim, were you watching that match live?
So that was 98, and I should have been watching that. I should have been watching that live. I don't know why I wasn't, but I remember like doing everything I could to find video or to see,
VHS,
anything I could to see that actual match after I heard about it. Everyone was talking about it. I remember being in school on Monday, and it was just everything everyone was talking about. Actually, it wasn't in school because it was in June.
The pool or something.
I remember people talking about it though, like in my friend groups, stuff like that. And it was just hard. Video and stuff like that was hard to come by of a match that just happened the day before, unless someone recorded it. And
also, you had to pay $50 for these things back in the day.
Yeah, you would have to.
That was more money.
Your buddy would have to, and hopefully he recorded it right.
Right.
And the tracking was good on the VCR, and all that stuff. But yeah, it was one of the matches that probably forever changed the expectations of what Hell in a Cell actually is. Broke all sorts of boundaries in terms of what can actually be done,
right?
With this type of match. And holy shit, dude! I mean, you talk about carnage. We just talked about Mick Foley being crazy. I've seen so many different biographies and documentaries on this, and some of the stuff that happened during the match is just like was unscripted, and it's just two guys just kind of going through a match that they've really never been
It was, I would say, because there's a lot of things. It was a different cage back then, the cell, They almost fell through it walking on it. And to start the match on top of the cell, that was Terry Funk's idea, by the way. And it's the match. I would say that is the most memorable, most like famous match probably in WWE history. I would say like, well, I guess that's tough, but it's right there. If when people that don't even know wrestling, have heard about that match. It's a very Superfly Snuka off the top of the cage match where you think like Mankind is one of the biggest stars of all time, Mick Foley in WWE, but he's not a Stone Cold. He's not a Rock. He never crossed over into any movie platform, whatever. But people know of that match, and they're a casual fan and kind of the common person have heard of that match.
And there's so many different pieces, memorable pieces about that match too. Like everyone remembers him getting thrown off, the side of the the actual cell.
Yeah.
A lot of people forget that, wasn't there tax involved too?
Oh yeah. The choke slam through the top of the cell,
Yep.
which actually was the worst bump of the match, and that's what knocked him unconscious and then put the tooth through his lip.
Yep.
Then the tax at the end, not to mention all the backdrops onto the steps where his legs hit the steps and different tombstones and all sorts of things that happened. And a fun fact, that wasn't the last match of the night. Stone Cold then fought Kane in a first blood match and actually lost to Kane that night at King of the Ring. And he lost to Kane in the first blood match. Mankind came out for that match to interfere because Undertaker came out to interfere. Then Mankind came out and interfered. Like it was to have that match and then also interfere in the match after that. I mean, that's what made Foley who he was, and that's where he took off and became maybe the most likable wrestler of the at the time.
And I think just from hearing the documentary stuff on that match, if I remember correctly, and if I'm wrong, let me know, Tom, but I thought Vince was very apprehensive in how that match developed.
Well, he said to him as soon as the match ended. Now, this is you. If for those of you not listening, or for those of you that don't know, this was right in the middle of the WCW, the Monday Night Wars. Okay, so this was huge stakes on the line. A match like this had never really happened. Nowadays, you've seen the clips of this match, and people have done things, and there's different. We've gone to all the extremist limits. This was all new to see. After the match, Vince McMahon came up to Mick Foley and said to him, Mick, I appreciate what you did, but don't ever do that again.
Yeah. Yep.
Because he knew what Mick had done in his sacrifice of his life, basically, to help the company. They needed to put it over. They needed to, the stakes were as high as they could get. So, he said, I appreciate what you did, but never do that again. And Vince McMahon is a person, for whatever you want to say about him, he won't ask you to do something he isn't willing to do himself. So he's gone off the top of a cage through a table in the Valentine's Day Massacre. He's done some crazy things as well. But yeah, that is something that Vince was not really in love with, the idea of, whether it being he's a good guy or the liability or whatever. It's just, you could point it to a bunch of different ways. All right, Tim. So big pay-per-view coming up this weekend, Money in the Bank. And we're gonna preview some of the things, and we talked about making our predictions this week.
Yep.
So the first match I want to talk about, Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor. This is for the WWE Heavyweight Championship. I've been really liking the build. I thought there was a nice vignette with Finn Balor this week talking about they played clips of when he got hurt and the comeback, and something that I had forgotten about after he said, "Hey, I'm injured. I'm going to have to drop the belt." He was walking off. Cue Seth Rollins music. He comes out and laughs in his face. And I was like, wow, what a great, long-term storytelling thing to bring up. They show the clip of him coming out and he does that, maniacal Seth Rollins laugh. And I really like the build for this. Tim, I'm starting to lean towards Finn Balor possibly winning this match. What are your thoughts?
There's a couple things that really are pushing. I hear what you're saying. I think he can't take the belt off of Seth Rollins, so I'm taking Seth in this match. Number one, that's my prediction. Just to elaborate on what your thoughts are on this match, I can see how they can put the strap on Balor because the Judgment Day certainly needs a lot more credibility than just having Mommy with a belt. I also think it sets up a nice little storyline with him and possibly Damian Priest, and I know we'll probably get into that when his match comes up.
Right.
But I feel like there's going to be some sort of development with the Judgment Day, and I feel as if those guys. I feel like there's going to be some sort of
fallout
with Judgment Day and one of the members, and I think that's the best way to go about it. So if I'm going to entertain the thought of Balor actually winning that match, I think it's due to other storylines that have to happen too. So it's all predicated upon that. So we'll see how that plays out.
Right. It's almost like if WWE is going to be pushing the Judgment Day, then Balor wins and Priest gets the Money in the Bank, right? And then they have that whole storyline where you have a guy with the championship in the same faction with a guy that has the Money in the Bank contract to cash in. So,
we've been talking about,
and they've really been building a Finn, but if he loses, I mean, he's basically like, see ya. You know what I mean? Like, if he loses this match, it's almost like, all right, well, Finn, what are you gonna do now? You're not gonna get another match, are you?
Well,
like,
we keep on seeing, right? It feels like Finn Balor has been really the catalyst for the Judgment Day, right? He's the leader, right? He's the guy that kind of dictates everything. And if he does lose, maybe they go in a direction of, he's the one that ends up leaving Judgment Day, right? Because, we got Seth Rollins pushing, how he's not the same Finn Balor that he used to be, right? And he's been with Judgment Day, and maybe this loss creates, a spark in him. I mean, it seems like it's kind of turned his character around a lot over the course of the last 4 weeks. And we've seen a different Finn Balor, but does that transition into the old Finn Balor? Who knows?
Well, interesting to see. I'm gonna say, oh man, because they just had Seth on the show. You know what I mean? Like he's just on ESPN First Take, and it's like they're starting to promote this guy. They just got this new belt. You feel like people have been holding the straps for a while, and all the other belts have been held for a while.
Yeah,
it's like they can't just take it off him now. Could they possibly have him lose and then have the rematch at SummerSlam and he wins it back? I could see, what if he loses to Finn Balor, Damian Priest wins the Money in the Bank, rematch at SummerSlam, he beats Finn Balor, Damian Priest comes out, cashes in his Money in the Bank, and becomes the champ. And now you have the Finn Balor, Damian Priest, like, that was my belt. Now you took.
I think it certainly can go in that direction. I think the more I think now what we're talking about, the more Finn Balor wins this, I think the better off. The more storylines can come from it.
Right.
So it might be advantageous for them to put that belt on the Finn Balor.
Should we book it? Should we just say we think Finn Balor's going to win it?
I mean, you stick with your prediction.
I'm going with Finn.
Sticking with mine.
I'm going with Finn because I just feel like they have to have some gold. And that just creates a lot of, like you said, there's a million different ways to go if Finn wins. If Seth wins, okay, who's going to be fighting Seth next? And who's he going to beat next?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you can have Seth come back and you get Seth a big match at SummerSlam too, still, if he loses.
I do think this is the only promotion or the PLE that all members of the Judgment Day are wrestling.
Wow. It's been I mean, did Damian not have a match at WrestleMania?
No.
Wow. So let's move on. Speaking of the Judgment Day, we're gonna have Cody Rhodes versus Dom Dom, everyone's favorite, Dangerous Dom, as I like to call him. Predictions for I think this is an easy one. I think Cody wins, and he's getting ready to go against Brock Lesnar again at SummerSlam. I feel like it's going to be an entertaining match. I feel like Dom will get his chance to showcase. We've talked about how he's come up and gotten better and better and better, and I feel like this is going to be another chance for him to. It's okay if he loses, and Cody's the face. You keep him winning.
Yeah. We're looking at both characters again. I still think, they're going to push this storyline with the Judgment Day. I think they're all tied together. I certainly don't think that Dom's going to win this one, but I know Damian Priest was getting upset about people getting involved in his matches and stuff like that. We saw that a little bit. But I think this is a straight mommy Dominic deal here. Cody Rhodes will end up winning this one clean. I mean, he still has that advantage of having that titanium brace on, which I mean, and thank God we got the explanation about why Brock Lesnar attacked him, and it's all starting to make sense for me now. So I can see that storyline kind of unfolding with, as you said, Brock, and Cody in a third rematch,
especially with the explanation now.
Right now that we got it, there's going to be a lot more motivation for Cody to go into WrestleMania and take out Brock, especially with that titanium forearm that he's got.
So if you're listening, obviously we're being sarcastic about that. There's been no explanation, which is what we briefly touched on earlier, the frustration of a professional wrestling fan. Hopefully they give us some answers on that. We both agree Cody wins this match. Dom gets to show out a little bit. Maybe we'll see Dom later in the show in a different match. All right, so we've got the Roman and Solo versus the Usos Civil War match. This is going to be a great match. I'm predicting this will be the match of the night.
Ooh.
Just because you have all the pieces in there. You've got the megastar, well, not the megastar, the biggest star in the biz right now, Roman Reigns, the undisputed champion. You got the Usos, who in my opinion are the best tag team in the world. Solo, the family ties, the storyline, everything like that. There's going to be a lot on the lines. My prediction, Usos. Ooh.
See, I'll make my prediction first.
Okay.
I think Roman and Solo win this one. No one has pinned Roman Reigns in what, 2 years, 3 years, or whatever.
3 years.
3 years. Solo himself.
Pop quiz, who's the last person to pin Roman Reigns?
I think it was Jake the Snake, right?
Mr. Baron Corbin.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
How about that? The Lone Wolf.
The Lone Wolf.
And Solo, I think, has only been pinned once. So I just don't see it happening for the Usos. As much momentum as they have right now, turning against Roman, I think they'll get a taste of the bloodline that they used to belong to, and they're going to get their asses beat. I think there's going to be some fallout afterwards where Roman and Solo take out some ruthless aggression, if you will, on these guys, chair shots, stuff like that. I can see some tables involved. And
oh yeah,
things
it's going to get nasty, this match. Down and dirty. I think there's going to be some weapons and stuff like that, like you're saying, using the tables, maybe some chair shots, stuff like that. Tim, I'm going to agree with you. I'm going Roman and Solo, and I think the show ends with the Usos being beat down
Yep.
and like left lying dead in the ring. Maybe there's an introduction of a new member to the bloodline. Maybe there's Paul Heyman, helps give Solo or Roman a weapon or something like that.
Kendo stick.
Something along those lines. And I've hoped for, and I'm predicting a casino type moment, like we've mentioned in shows in the past, where they're beating down Jimmy and making Jay watch, and then ultimately beat down Jay as well. So then they're just left lying in the ring, walk out. Roman has the belts and Solo has his back as the champs that have won. The kind of an Empire Strikes Back moment.
What I will be very disappointed in is if we see that happen and we see KO and Sami Zayn come out, because I feel like they got to get away from that right now.
They have to be done. Maybe they can do something to say, like, to get them out of the way. Let me 1 second.
So yeah, I think that's really kind of the way that they should go in that direction. I mean, stay away from the KO stuff. Stay away from bringing Sami Zayn back into that mix. Yeah, they don't need any saving. Let's just let that storyline play itself out.
There have been rumors now of now this is one that's kind of out there. Austin Theory's been missing from TV basically. He hasn't been on the show much, and I haven't seen him. Another wrestler that hasn't been around is Drew McIntyre. The show's in England. Maybe we see him. Maybe we'll touch on that a little bit later. But there's been rumors of Austin Theory joining the Bloodline.
That's quite the theory. See what I did right there?
I would like to see someone come out and get involved. I feel like they need a third member. And of course, they can't call it the Bloodline if it's not someone from their family. But I wouldn't mind seeing someone else come out, get into the fold of this storyline, not involving a KO, not involving a Sami Zayn, and help, like Roman, Paul. Paul has recruited someone to help Roman now. He needs a new right-hand man, or he needs a new, some like enforcer type with Solo. I wouldn't mind them maybe bringing someone up or adding someone to the mix to help them win, and then the beatdown of the Usos.
Is there anyone else that would qualify in that kind of role? Maybe like a Mustafa Ali.
Mustafa Ali.
Or even a Baron Corbin. Maybe the Lone Wolf.
You could do a Baron Corbin. What about a Braun Breaker?
Oh, there was a little tease last night. Did you see that?
No.
Ooh. On NXT at the end of the show, he was in Shawn Michaels' office and he was freaking out. And he comes out of the office, the camera's on him, and they yell at him, or he yells at the camera like, "Everything okay?" And he goes, "You'll find out next week."
Teaser.
Yeah, well, nice little teaser.
I wonder if there's someone. I mean, now The Rock's daughter is in NXT, and she's coming up on I think in a faction.
Moana.
Yeah, it's Moana. But we'll see how that goes. I'm looking forward to it. I would like to see someone else joining Roman and Solo, so they have another badass character out there to help them. All right, so men's Money in the Bank match. Tim,
I think we're both in agreement on this one.
I think we are, but we'll see who we got.
It's gonna be
LA Knight. Well, I'm gonna go with I'm you know what? I'm going in on the Bloodline storyline. I think like this is where WWE's gonna go. I'm gonna shock the world and say that it's going to be Mr. Damian Priest winning Money in the Bank. Now the entrants are Ricochet, Shinsuke Nakamura, Escobar, Butch, Damian Priest, Logan Paul, and
yeah. So like, look. The obvious choice and who has the most momentum right now is LA Knight. In my opinion, I think no one better though could deserve a push like Butch. Butch has been, I mean, he has suffered storyline after storyline.
Just that you're on the edge of your seat every time he's out there.
He comes out.
What's Butch got to say?
Yeah, like this guy has just been incredible with the way he's been in that that whole what
The
is
Brawling
Brawling
Brutes.
Brutes.
Yeah.
And they've done exceptional work. He's actually not a bad wrestler, but
No, we're not like obviously we're joking around. This is not really a knock on Butch, but he hasn't been a major player in any real
it
storyline.
feels like a throw in, like a little like, hey, we'll put you throw you a little seed.
You're from the area, you're
Yeah.
gonna be in the Money in the Bank contract,
Yeah.
I don't see I see the Ricochet, Shinsuke, what about a Bronson Reed joining the bloodline? Sorry, that just kind of
No, that's not bad.
popped into my head. Now you got Bronson Reed with Solo and Roman. I mean, that's some meat.
Well, look,
Some big meaty meat.
Here's the thing. We were talking about like, well, yeah, you can't really have someone join the bloodline, but like Sami Zayn was in the bloodline.
Honorary ooze.
So, but that would be tough to kind of go back into that angle. Like you go to be that honorary goose, and like he handled that so well with his comedic influence and his the way he really kind of developed into that whole storyline. But what were we talking about? Oh,
LA Knight.
So yeah, I mean I really think that LA Knight is the clear choice. He's been doing a lot of publicity over the course of the last couple of weeks. A lot of different like podcasts he's been on,
right?
And they're talking about his story where he was kind of in development. He went over to TNA for a little while, right? He was a champion over there and decided to take a pay cut and come back to the WWE for a bigger and better future. They were talking about maybe possibly him being a manager because he was a little older. And he's found his niche. He's as hot as they come right now in terms of any superstar, I would say, in wrestling.
Right. He's one. I mean, right now when I turn on the TV, Tim, he's right up there. He might be the number one guy when he comes out for, I'm like, oh, finally, and maybe it's that want to have him have that storyline.
Yeah. And he's not, listen, it's not where, the glass breaks and it's stone cold and everyone's going crazy. But I mean,
it's building.
He's certainly building up, and he's got an opportunity really to take advantage of it. And if WWE knows right, and they do right by him, they'll push him in that direction. I'm not saying giving him the belt right now, but giving him an opportunity to perform on the highest level. That's what you got to see. You got to see him in a big match, and that was taken away from him, I think, when they had him tied into that Bray Wyatt storyline, and Bray Wyatt disappeared from TV for personal reasons again. And that kind of fell flat, which is a shame because it seemed like it had a lot of momentum. Each week we're wondering what the hell's going on with this guy, and so we'll see. Hopefully they tie him into, this Money in the Bank and he cashes in at some point. I like that they're trying to keep him a heel. I like that, he's sticking true to his roots of what got him there, and just let the crowd kind of take it from there. He doesn't have to do anything different. Just be himself the way he has, and hopefully it creates more.
Okay, this is I'm going with this. Okay, Ricochet and Shinsuke, they're gonna have they've had their feud. They're still fighting back and forth, and you have Bronson Reed involved in that, right? Mm-hmm. Then you got Escobar and Butch, who kind of, I would say, the wrestlers that are thrown in. They're going to do some entertaining stuff, but I'm not necessarily expecting them to really make any real noise from this show. I'm going to go with Damian Priest wins it. Dom comes out and helps him win. Okay? I am going to say this sparks a major feud between Logan Paul and LA Knight. And that leads to a match at SummerSlam, Logan Paul versus LA Knight at SummerSlam. And this is the beginning of their feud.
Quickly, will those Money in the Bank matches take place before the championship matches?
Yes. Sometimes they start with the Money in the Bank match.
So could you theoretically see Damian Priest winning? I mean, how often does it cash in on the same night?
How often? It's not all the time, but it's happened 5 times, 6 times.
Could you see,
like including the women's? It's right. Happened that.
But could you see Damian Priest winning and then cashing in on Finn Balor?
I could. I could
Like
totally see
like
that.
if Finn Balor wins,
Yes,
that would be kind of
that would be kind of crazy, because then you have, I mean, that but then you're getting Damian Priest versus Finn Balor at SummerSlam for the heavyweight championship match. You know, which whatever, if that's where they're going, we've talked about how Priest has done a good job when he was with Bad Bunny. He did a great job with Bad Bunny, and Finn Balor obviously with the
No,
staples in his head.
I'm saying Finn Balor wins
Right.
against Seth Rollins,
and then Damian Priest cashes in against
same
him.
night.
Yeah,
not at WrestleMania.
right, same night. Well, I'm just saying, like, they've both been coming, like, Damian Priest has elevated himself over the last couple pay-per-views. Finn Balor, his character has been elevated these last couple weeks. He did the staples in his head at WrestleMania back. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
I just feel like, is that where, I guess the big question is where is WWE going with all of this?
Man, that is a truly accelerated storyline if that's the route they go.
Right.
That's like, all right, let's just throw it all together, like throw the kitchen sink at them,
Yeah, like, I feel like if you have Damian Priest win and you have Finn Balor win, you want those weeks of tension there. There's already been tension building between those two,
right? Yeah.
And then now, next thing you know,
fair point.
Finn Balor gets beat down on Monday Night Raw, and it's like,
excellent point. You're right again.
And the torn. I have this contract. He's down. I could cash in right now, but he's in my team. We'll see. We'll see where that goes.
Real quick, what does our friend Rob Diss think about that whole Money in the Bank situation? Did you get his opinion on
I
that?
haven't gotten his opinion yet, but I'm sure we'll be getting it via text. The Jabronis are always they're always texting about different shows. I mean, he's invested.
Yeah, he is,
and I love to see it.
Mm-hmm.
And we're invested.
He's a true friend of the show.
True friend of the show, way more than someone that we'd referenced earlier who's just a delivery driver.
Yeah,
Just
a guy.
He's a fake jabroni.
Yep.
Rob's an honorary jabroni.
Yeah.
So, women's Money in the Bank match, we got Becky Lynch, as I like to call her, Zoe Stark, Bayley, Io Sky, Trish Stratus, and Zelina Vega. Timmy, who do you have coming out of this one?
I'm a big fan of Zelina Vega. She put on a great match at Backlash.
Yeah.
Her work's been pretty good. The LWO actually has been getting some pub lately. They've been pushed to the forefront. Rey Mysterio, obviously part of that whole situation. Escobar's in the Money in the Bank men's match. So I feel like she's got an opportunity here to it'll be so tired to put the belt back or give Becky Lynch the Money in the Bank thing. And
I do not want Becky Lynch.
And honestly, Trish Stratus, I'm so tired of the Becky Lynch Trish Stratus thing. Like that's kind of like the biggest feud we got going on right now in the WWE. Well, second biggest, I guess, besides the Bloodline.
Yeah.
But like, what else is going on in the WWE besides that?
You got the Bloodline, Cody and Brock.
Yeah, but this is every week we're seeing it.
Yeah, I know.
We're seeing it every single week with the Trish Stratus stuff, and it's like, all right, dude. The maybe Trish Stratus, if they're gonna make Zoe Stark, the next thing, maybe she puts her over somehow, some way.
I was gonna say Zoe Stark. I was thinking Zoe Stark maybe comes out of this with the win. I do want it to see someone different. I like the idea of a Zelina Vega winning it. I think that's pretty sweet, and you can have her walking around with the LWO talking about cashing in. But I don't want to see the same olds. I don't want to see a Becky Lynch. I don't want to see Bayley. People have talked about Io Sky. Now she has the history with Asuka. They're both
of Asian
descent. Yeah. And there's been several promos where they're speaking to each other. And so I would say that might be interesting, because then you could have a cash in at night, Io Sky, you got Charlotte going against Asuka. But I'm gonna go with Zoe Stark. I've been impressed with her in-ring stuff. Like, she seems pretty strong. She seems pretty intimidating person. I would like her carrying around the Money in the Bank and kind of get some new some new blood into this. We can't keep going with the Baileys, the Becky Lynches, and the Trish Stratuses, I don't think.
Yeah, I'm so over Bailey being a heel.
Yeah, she needs to try something new. All right, so last match we're going to talk about here. We're going to talk about Mr. Gunther versus the bro, Matt Riddle. What are your predictions for this match? And do you think this is going to be a match that helps elevate Matt Riddle? Because Gunther, it's going to be hard hitting, and you're going to be able to see Matt Riddle, like, can he take that type of punishment? Can he bounce back from it? This has helped wrestlers throughout the history of professional wrestling. I reference it all the time when Mick Foley and Triple H had their matches. It really put Triple H over as a guy that was, wow, this guy, and helped elevate him. Can this be something that elevates Matt Riddle?
We talked about like different styles of wrestling and with Gunther before, and Riddle has a different style than some of the other guys that he's faced, but it doesn't seem to slow Gunther down with the way he attacks and the way he wrestles in ring. It's going to be an elevated match. We've seen that time and time again with different opponents. I really hope that Gunther comes out with the W here, just because I don't like Riddle barefoot in a ring.
Yeah. Well, and Gunther is so great, like he really, like, that Intercontinental Champion, like, I could see someone wanting to cash in on Gunther because he's going to break the record if he wins this match, which I think he's going to. Yeah. He's going to break the record for the longest time with the Intercontinental Championship belt, and that makes it like, a very memorable moment in professional wrestling history. Sure. Is when the Ultimate Warrior came running out against the Honky Tonk Man. So I think like you get that kind of moment where if I see LA Knight win, I would love for LA. Could you imagine an LA Knight Gunther feud? LA Knight cashes in, after SummerSlam. Not like the pop would be
that would
out of this world.
No, that's something we haven't seen. I would love to see that.
And it's like he maybe LA Knight's doing something, and you start planting the seeds of Gunther and them kind of
sure.
Treating him like shit.
Yeah.
And then he comes out and like that, Gunther's beat down. He just got through a match with Sheamus and he's like out of it and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And then all these LA Knight. Sure. And he comes running out. So Gunther wins this match. I think it helps elevate Riddle and show, that he's back. His issues off the out of the ring are kind of behind him, hopefully. And he can move on from anything there. Timmy, before we get signed off, is there anything that you'd like to say?
No, I just it's good to be in person with you, Tom. It's we make a hell of a tag team.
Oh man,
and I'm glad to see you. In the flesh.
In the flesh.
We weren't able to, pull off any of our finishing moves, but. I think we're really delivering here. The crowd masses, they love us.
I know the neighbors certainly enjoyed my intro. My wife has certainly enjoyed me stepping away from the kids for a couple hours.
You've gotten quite the pop. You're so over right
now. I'm over with the fam after and if you listen to Schmidt and Lavelle, you'll know what we're talking about. Tom is over with the fam. You know what I'm thinking about doing tonight? We're headed to Ocean City tonight.
Better pay for dinner.
I'm paying for dinner, right? We're getting Mancos. It's going to be on me.
Oh yeah, you're really spending big bucks there.
Pizza's on me. Heck, I'll throw in ice cream.
Thinking maybe a trip to the Lobster House.
The rides, steaks.
Oh yeah.
Maybe steaks tomorrow.
Fillets.
Well, Tim, my actual birthday is tomorrow. So I will say that, like when I got messed up on my 40th birthday party, the following day was Father's Day. I planned these episodes pretty well. Can you be mad at a guy whose birthday it is? If anyone can be, it's my wife. But we appreciate you listening. If you like what we're doing, tell your friends. Honestly, we've been getting a lot of good feedback on our show, Schmidt and Lavelle, and Jabroni Drive. People are liking the wrestling content. Wrestling is maybe as hot as it's ever been. We love you. We appreciate you listening. Until next time, Hasta luego.
See you later.